thanks for joining us again today for a conversation about what it means to be doing engineering in the 21st century. If you've listened into the other podcasts we've done, you know that what we're focusing on is individuals that are impactful and are change agents, and at the same time, in most cases, people that I have an intimate knowledge of that I think are good role models, good examples of people that have moved through different phases of a very early career to share. Today, we have Matthew Jacobson with us. Matthew and I first met, again, remember that I'm a past president of ASCE. Matthew and I first met working on committee level work and some society level work for ASCE. And he impressed me the first time and continues to impress me today. I think you'll find him an impressive person as well. Hi, Matthew. Thanks for taking the time to share with us.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for agreeing, as I say. Let's start the conversation today. There's a lot of different answers, and I'm not going to go into mine. But the question that oftentimes get asked is, why did you get into civil engineering? What forced you, motivated you, inclined you to pursue a civil engineering degree? What did you think you were going to get out of it?
Yeah, definitely. I like this question a lot, especially being so early on in my career. I feel like I think about it a lot still. But going back to high school, I was in an engineering academy, and so kind of took some engineering courses. We did like SketchUp and Autodesk stuff. So, and then I think we had like a Revit course too. So,
Oh,
kind of got like really early exposure. Kind of like that idea of like creating stuff, like building different like communities or areas and stuff like that. And so, kind of, I think naturally when applying for colleges, I had picked civil engineering. And once I got into it, just really, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed, that community building aspect, being able to make things and build communities for others. So I've been running with it ever since.
so the idea of actually impacting lives, communities,
Yeah.
was what the attractive point was. Is where you kind of found your what I'm going to frame as your passion for this profession. Is that correct?
Yeah, and like even just kind of thinking about like what I wanted to do in life, and you think about, doctors or lawyers, and they kind of see, I don't know, 1 to 10 patients in a day, or they're meeting with a few different people, helping change those lives. But civil engineers have the ability to impact like hundreds of thousands of lives every day, whether it's freeways, water systems, building systems. We're impacting the daily lives of everyone in our community. So having that larger scale impact, I think, is also really what drew me to it.
Yeah, quite well put. Of course, civil engineers do, in fact, in ways that people don't recognize, impact their lives every day. Whether it be to get up and turn on the tap and brush their teeth, knowing that without fear of the water that's coming out of the tap causing them illness, or the fact that the waste is going to be managed, the roads are going to be there, the bridges are safe, the power is going to be on, the entire infrastructure upon which our society is built is designed, planned, designed, built, and maintained by civil engineers in various ways, and that calling, that desire to be of service, to be of impact, is commendable. When I got into the profession, the idea was I like just kind of like building big things with other people's money. Uh,
Yeah.
but I later realized that those big things had real impact, had real
Mhm.
value in terms of things like quality of life and economic opportunity, and if done right, the parity that's so appropriate for communities. That again, as I say, that really is commendable. Could you, with regard to getting prepared to come into this, um, could, you talked about being in a club at the high school level. Could you talk briefly about that and think about how that prepared you and oriented you to move into this? And then let's talk a little bit about your undergraduate education as it transpired after that.
hmm Yeah, so I think being involved like really early on in high school helped me. Having those courses, I felt like I kind of had a leg up. Knew a little bit, definitely not everything that I would learn in college, but kind of, piqued my interest and wanted to pursue it further, obviously. So getting a better understanding of, what all is out there, what the different kind of disciplines of engineering were. So kind of had that understanding and knew that I didn't want to be a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer. So kind of going down that civil route, I think, is what high school best prepared me for. So kind of getting that grasp on engineering as a whole, because I think people might not know what engineering entails, or that's so broad or has so many different subjects. So kind of narrowing my focus first on civil engineering, I think, is what high school prepared me for. And then jumping into college, I got really involved with ASCE, so that's the American Society of Civil Engineers. So that's where we met, obviously, and doing different committee work. And so I was involved with that organization at the student chapter level. And so really just dive full in, getting involved with all the different events and programs. And obviously, there's stuff happening on campus, but then in the broader sense of ASE at the society level, so going to conferences, competitions, really, diving all in and getting that experience and exposure early on, I think is really important, and what I saw a great opportunity to get involved with, and build those relationships, build those connections, because you never know, where those bridges will go. So getting those connections really early on, I think, was really impactful to jump starting my career early. And so I had a great time doing it, and I'm still very involved with ASC at the professional level. And
Mhm.
so I have just really enjoyed my time and experience.
Yeah, the undergraduate education program, I'm going to run you back to that for just a brief instant. Uh, in, as you know, I've been involved with academics for a long time, most of my career in one capacity. And one of the things I've always lamented is that in the limited amount of hours we're allowed to cram into an undergraduate degree, a Bachelor of Science in Civil or variations on that, that one of the things we don't spend enough time or get to spend enough time on is management, professional skills. We do an awful lot on technical training, but we don't do as much as I'd really like to see us do on the professional skills. And you talk about ASCE's student chapter at your institution providing that opportunity, giving you that, to the point where, while most students would think of ASCE student chapter as an opportunity to race canoes, or concrete canoes in particular, or build steel bridges, models, prototypes, whatever, you saw it as an opportunity to really develop yourself into the kind of person that has impact, that manages, that understands the broader scope of the projects you're working on. And I think that's really great, seizing on those opportunities when they present. With that as a kind of a background, though, how do you feel your undergraduate, and I haven't mentioned, we're not going to mention what institution you graduated from, even though we both know. But in broad sense, you've got a really good program, by the way. You came from a really good program. I know. I do ABET visits and what have you. But how do you feel that it prepared you, and then what could it have prepared you for as far as your transition to where you are today and where you see yourself going?
Mhm. Yeah, I think our undergraduate program did a really good job. We had a lot of, the lecture courses, but also paired with the lab. So getting that hands-on experience, really gave us a leg up when we're jumping into the industry and graduating. But then, too, on the soft skills side with ASCE, I think I really saw it as a leadership opportunity, and kind of being able to practice those leadership skills in like a safe space to where it's low risk, high reward. So you plan an event, you get those event planning skills, whether it's coordinating with attendees and practicing communication, managing a small budget because you have to order different supplies and materials, reaching out to speakers. So now you're connecting with the professional world. So being able to practice those kind of different key skills that all translate into the workplace now, working on projects, you're managing budgets, you're reaching out to clients, you're having that day-to-day communication with your team. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm, still very involved and am able to kind of practice those skills and still, just grow and learn for myself and how I, manage teams, manage projects, manage people, and being able to, continuously build upon my skills. And I think that's why I enjoy being involved so much with ASCE is, it's a great opportunity to learn, but then also, give back and kind of help that next generation build those skills, helping those students, edit their resumes, all that kind of stuff. So always, I think being able to hand back or give back, the things that I've learned is something that I've been really passionate about and why I continue to stay involved.
And that again is one of the impressive aspects, uh, as far as I'm concerned, that you exude and that you manifest. So again, I applaud you for that. That's important, and will remain important. We've talked, you and I have talked a lot here recently and today about ASCE. Um, and just out of curiosity, and they usually tell you never to ask a question you don't know the full answer to, but what other activities are you involved in that are Matthew centered in terms of advancing your career and helping you achieve what it is you want to achieve?
Mhm. Yeah, so I think aside from ASC, I'm pretty involved just in our workplace. So I'm work at Kimley Horton Associates in downtown LA. I'm a civil analyst for them, so I work on multimodal projects, bike lanes, traffic signals, bus lanes, all that stuff. But aside from that work, I'm one of our like young professional group chairs. So that's a role, just within our office and kind of in a similar sense, work to give back to those in our office, kind of building on, the tips and tricks that will help you be successful within our company. And so what that means in, our like day-to-day space and kind of providing those resources to engineers in our office.
Super. I'm going to take you off the rails just a little bit here from our earlier conversation and move over into in the corporate environment. So the company you're currently working for uh, acknowledges, recognizes, and facilitates success of young professionals by professional development. They're embracing and supporting you in the efforts that you where you can be impactful, both as a volunteer and within the corporate activities. Could you elaborate a little bit more about what all that involves and how supportive that is as to your personal value set?
Yeah, definitely. I think our company definitely values and recognizes the importance of all that. Soft skills training, um, outside of the typical like engineering projects and sense. So we have a handful of kind of different trainings that we're able to attend within the first probably 4 to 5 years of our career.
Excellent.
So kind of getting that really like boots on the ground, what's going to be helpful, what's going to set you up for success. Whether that's our CAD training that we provide to both our interns and new hires like right off the bat, or more of the fundamentals of consulting skills and kind of what goes into building projects, what goes into building successful budgets, what does that look like, and how do you create staffing plans and stuff like that. So I've been really fortunate to attend a few of those trainings and really see the value that those provide to building my career very early on.
Well, that's great. Let me take you further down this particular path for just a few more minutes. Obviously, you're still connected with friends. I know that you're still engaged with people that around you and that you graduated with and that you were involved with both at the university and at ASCE. Do you get a sense that they're finding the same type of facilitating, supportive, developing environment in their workplace? Or do you think your workplace is just that unique and that supportive and everybody else is suffering?
Mhm. Interesting, kind of thought or thought provoking. I would say, like, I've seen, like, I think just the commitment of our company kind of on another level in terms of, the value that we provide to our employees, what, career opportunities we provide, the amount of support that I've received to, participate in ASE and attend different things. So I definitely see that benefit and feel like we have a leg up, but I know that other, you know, companies and agencies provide similar opportunities for their employees and such. So I think it's something that all, employers should recognize and realize as an importance. And if they haven't, fully committed to that or are looking for different opportunities to kind of do that, then ASE is definitely one of those opportunities to where they can get their employees actively engaged, meeting other people, building those connections, and developing their leadership skills.
Excellent. Well, and a sidebar, if you drop me the name of your immediate supervisor's email address, I'll be happy to send on a thank you
Hmm.
and a attaboy or attagirl, is whichever the case may be, to let them know that I think they're doing a great job. There are companies that have a corporate philosophy that resonates with what you're saying. But I also find even within the large corporations, the small regional offices sometimes have a little different environment, operate a little differently than what the corporate philosophy is. And I'm still trying to figure out how they cover it up. And I've got a couple interviews in the future where I'm going to dig down with corporate executives to find out how are you letting this happen when you say that.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure how that's going to transpire, but we're going to take a shot at it. But that's not relative to you. I'm really pleased that for everything that you value, you're getting facilitated, that you're getting the support and hopefully recognition at the corporate level, being rewarded and acknowledged and supported. That's an important piece, and I applaud the company for that. Even though we haven't mentioned them yet, and you're welcome to you feel now you can. So, but I also want to, for those that are listening to our conversation, want to emphasize that if they're working in an environment where they're not feeling that, go find another environment. That old dinosaur that they're working for needs to be completely extinct, and it's time for them to recognize the mistakes of what they're doing. So, but I'm pleased. I truly am pleased that you're not in that environment. You deserve better, and I'm glad you're getting it. Um, let's dig down into a little bit. And correct me if I'm wrong. I sense that somewhere fundamentally you have a service mentality. I say that because I do. I can bring mine back to my parents and point to the way I was raised, which I didn't really realize until just very recently, that the way my parents raised me imprinted upon me a need, not just a desire, a need to be of service, to be impactful, to make change, to help others. Kind of like what Rotary says, service before self, which is why Rotary resonates with me as well. Am I correct in that assessment? Is that part of your core value, or is this just something that you feel good about doing?
No, I think I can definitely connect some of that back to, my upbringing and stuff too. So I'm one of three siblings. I'm the oldest child. There's 5 years between me and my sister, 11 years between me and my youngest brother. So kind of always being that caretaker, caretaker giving back, whether it was pushing the stroller through the mall, carrying the diaper bag, kind of all those things that early on, I think, you're always just like, oh, I gotta like help my younger siblings or whatnot. But I think kind of translating that into, the workplace or as I've grown up, kind of realizing, oh, I do kind of, I think, just always naturally give back and do really appreciate that giving back and kind of always providing for others, always, being able to be a resource for others. Cause that's what how I was raised or how I was coded, if you want to say. And so I think I do really appreciate my upbringing. Now looking back on it, it might have not always been the easiest, or kind of having to do those chores day to day. When you were younger, you're like, oh, why do I have to do this? But kind of realizing, those kind of morals or mentality that instills in you for the rest of your life, I think I've been really appreciative of now, and can really see in the work that I've done, whether it's in an engineering sense, we talked earlier about building communities and wanting to give back and having that impact. I think I really see now, and then also, just really helping others and being supportive of others, whether that's in a professional sense or to my friends outside of work in ASCE. Being able to just want to be there for others and help, everyone, progress themselves and progress into the future.
Yeah, be the best version of a civil engineer that they can be, or best version of a person that they
Hmm.
can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you got the other end of the same bowl of cloth that I was cut
Mhm.
from. Mine's a little frayed. Hopefully yours came off the roll, the belt a little bit newer, which I'm sure it did. That's excellent. For those individuals that didn't grow up with that, but are just thinking about civil engineering as a career, but at the same time, as most in the newer generations, not mine, my dinosaur generation didn't understand any of this. They were wrong. Your generation's right. This idea of being impactful, what do you think it takes if you're not motivated simply to be selfless? Not again, I'm not saying selfless in the sense that you volunteer only. I mean, you make a nice chunk of change being selfless. I have and continue to. But the idea here is that those individuals that aren't motivated that way, what kind of a message would you like to share with them about what civil engineering is? And you've already framed some of this up about its impact.
Hmm. Yeah, I think for me, like early on in my college experience, I didn't see like the true impact like right away. So kind of what we were saying earlier. We flush the toilet, we turn on the sink, but we don't really think much of it. And then as I kind of learned and developed and in my undergraduate journey, just seeing how civil engineers can really change communities and impact lives. I think if you're able to get in front of that or see that in a different light or kind of think about it differently, then you can really see, the importance and the reasoning behind like why our profession is so impactful on society. And I think that is what's truly inspiring and can be motivation if you might not already have it, or um, kind of help you see the other side of things from a different perspective, that it's not always easy, in other places of the world to turn on the sink, flush the toilet. They just don't have that kind of infrastructure system. And so, the real importance that we play in the day to day lives of humanity.
Well, and part of the reason I asked the question is, as you know, as I know, as an academician, as also somebody that's gone through the programs at various levels, all the way up to my terminal degree, civil engineering is not an easy discipline to finish or to master. It's diverse, it's broad. It's really the term we're often using these days is really about designing infrastructure systems,
Mhm.
because it is not just designing a road, it's designing a transportation corridor that may do water and wastewater and telecommunications and power and bike lanes and bus lanes and car lanes and light rail, and the list goes on. So you have to think comprehensively without destroying the environment, without destroying the social fabric of the community that transportation corridor moves through. So it's a very challenging field, very impactful field, which having diverse uh, teams, individuals with diverse backgrounds, diverse perspectives, diverse skill sets, to be inclusive and bringing everybody into the decision process is both challenging and rewarding. So
Mhm.
the work you're doing, you talked about working on earlier about doing some work with bike lanes, and as we move to this kind of uh, multimodal transportation environment in our communities, uh, recognizing and supporting that type of desire is important, if not essential, to the quality of life that people are asking for, seeking.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I think, yeah, just, I mean, touching on transportation, I think you can kind of look back historically and see how it's both, connected, but also divided communities. And so I think civil engineers are definitely at the forefront now, where we're looking at, different ways of investing in communities and trying to build up and bring back, what transportation might have divided at one point. And so how do we, reconnect those communities, make sure that we're hearing all those voices, that everyone has a seat at the table. What is going to be, the transportation network or solution that works in this area, it might not be the right transportation or solution that works in another area. And again, those community needs and looking at those and being able to hear those and kind of looking at, you said transportation systems. I think civil engineers for too long have kind of just worked in a vacuum, and I'm going to build this bridge right here because that's where I want to put it. And so, how do we better engineer our built environment to work in better unison for everyone? And so, looking at that at a broader sense, we can no longer work in silos. We have to be collaborating with the communities that we're working in. We have to be collaborating with the agencies that we're working with. Really impacting the communities in a positive sense and not just designing something because we think that's best or that's what's been done in the past. So um, I think civil engineers are really at the forefront of that right now, and especially with the investment in infrastructure that we have a once in a generational opportunity to really deliver on what needs to be done and to build up communities for the future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's what excites me so much about your generation and the generation ahead of you and behind you, as opposed to my generation and whatever it represents. The, Going back to your analogy, I mean, it's not just putting the bridge where you want to, it's putting the bridge where somebody else tells you to put it when in fact in your heart, it's not the right answer.
Mhm.
It may not even need a bridge. But if it needs a bridge, is that the right place to put a bridge? Or as you say, going from point A to point B, well, rephrasing, going from point A to point B and ignoring everything that occurs between point A and point B. I've often mentioned that, who was it that designed and created the wrong side of the tracks? And recognizing what the socioeconomic issues are with the wrong side of the tracks, the civil engineer has to stand up and say it was us because we went from point A to point B, only focused on minimum cost and constructability without being concerned about the environment we were destroying, the species we were making extinct, the societies we were ripping apart or dividing as a result of putting this noisy, dirty, smoking vehicle, which was essential to economic development, but at the same time could have been done in other ways that weren't so negatively impactful. And I think, as you say, and I applaud the idea and advocate for it, is that moving forward we have to acknowledge the sins of the past and make sure that we don't repeat them. That what we do is a value not just at point A and point B, but every point in between. And that's hard to do, but it's what we are doing as a profession. It's
Yeah.
what you're doing as a professional, and that's really great. I want to take you in a little different path kind of right now. I want to talk a little about something that I think is important. I think most, if not all, the people that have come out of school recently think is important, and that's the trade-off between work and life, the work-life balance conversation.
Hmm.
Uh, I was taught incorrectly, but nevertheless, it's the way I've unfortunately lived my life, or fortunately, whichever. That at the end of the day, you sacrifice your health, you sacrifice your family, you sacrifice your community, you sacrifice everything for the sake of working for an employer and doing what they do, doing what they ask you to do. That kind of post-war mentality that I was handed as I was growing up and have lived a good bit of my life with, it's fundamentally wrong. I mean, you can find ways of being service without having to sacrifice yourself. Being inclusive doesn't require isolation. It's actually an oxymoron. Compartmentalizing, easy for me to say, your life into, here's work and here's life, and work is predominant and life is whatever I get left over. Or, hey, I'm going to kill myself for 60 hours a week because I get a really big bonus, but oh, by the way, I don't have time to spend it. So, with that as a kind of a backdrop, not as a cover, but as a backdrop for you, I'd like to have your thoughts on uh, how important work life balance is and how this profession that you and I are in actually provides an opportunity to support that value set.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting and kind of pivotal time in that work-life balance, or kind of what that looks like for future generations. Um, Going to college before the pandemic, or before, during, after. I graduated as part of the class of 2021, so my junior, half my junior, and all of my senior year were, virtual and remote. So kind of, I think we're at that point where that generation, is obviously now entering the workforce, and so what does that look like when for so long we have valued that just work mentality and 40 plus hours and kind of just putting everything else aside because work's the most important thing. But really, during COVID, having that time to reset, reprioritize, rebalance, what is important and what makes us society and people as a whole outside of work. And so, my supervisor always says, it's work life integration and opposed to work life balance because, there are going to be those times where work is important because you have a deadline coming up. And then there will be, those times where life is more important because you have weddings or family is sick and you need to take care of them. So trying to understand that things come in waves and there's a time and a place for everything. And as long as you're building, the right time and really taking that like initiative to reprioritize what's important at a certain given point in time, then I think this upcoming generation will still be successful in the workplace, being able to balance what's important to them, but also still deliver and continue to grow as a society and the working sense of things. And so yeah, I think we're just now seeing the beginning of it. I'm kind of on that cusp of, I understood what it was like to like be in college and kind of always having that mindset, focused on school, focused on career prior to the pandemic, and then going through college kind of during COVID and what that looked like, and then entering the workforce just shortly after that. Kind of getting the sense of what is important and what's important to me as I've kind of graduated into this career. And so looking at that as an opportunity to, okay, I've always been, career driven and my career is important and my professional self is important, but who is Matthew, outside of work, and being able to hang out with friends, have different hobbies, go to concerts or music festivals and stuff outside of work, and making sure that I still take the time off that I need to rest and recharge and kind of still do all the things that are important to me.
Yeah, and I like the phrase. You can tell your supervisor, I'm going to steal it. It's not work life balance; it's work life integration, and that it's not about siloing work from life. It's about actually integrating the two together, so one feeds off of the other. That I've told many a student over the years that there's multiple facets to who you are. There's the personal you, there's the connected you with possibly a significant other, there's the religious you and connecting with whatever your vision of the universe and the creator is. There's the physical you where you have to be healthy and be able to stay healthy in a way that facilitates what you're doing and so that you're not sick, just the bottom line. And then there's the professional you, that important piece where you have the technical and professional skills to be impactful and do things. And if all of these five facets, which I sum them down to, is are excuse me in a position or maintained, then any one of them is benefiting. So I really like that integration concept. That's important. And I appreciate you sharing that vision, that idea with us. I'm going to move just slightly as we're running out of time. Of course, this focus has been on you and everything I want to extract from you to share with everybody else. So, but at the same time, I wanted to suggest from your vision, from the people you work with, the friends that you have, do you feel that everybody is getting the same thing? And if so, great. And if not, why not?
Hmm. Um, so interesting question. I think that
You don't have to name names.
a lot of my friends are civil engineers. I stayed pretty close to,
I can imagine that.
my group of college friends as we graduated, entered the workforce and stuff like that. And I think, a lot of them see the benefit and impact that civil engineering has and are also really kind of like driven and passionate about it. I think For some of them, their workplace or employer might have not worked out, or kind of they've seen, the other side of things where, that employer was just focused on the work and didn't care about all the other things. And so, a few have kind of like transitioned jobs and stuff like that. But I would say all of us have kind of found our niche in terms of civil engineering discipline that we really enjoy. So there's a few of us involved with transportation, there's a few of us involved with construction, both on the public side, both on the private side. So, kind of finding the balance and understanding like, you have to make what works for you. And so that might be working for a public agency, that might be working for a private consultant. There are so many different facets within civil engineering that I would, encourage everyone, if you're not particularly interested in one. For me, that was structures. I never had a passion for, could never really get into, could never really get behind. It was just too much for me. And so, know that there are different disciplines, different facets, different ways that you can still be doing civil engineering, but it is a slightly different environment. And so you just have to, again, find that environment that works for you. And I think there's so many different opportunities if you are feeling like you might not like it in a certain area, that you could definitely transition into another one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I would suggest that for your inner circle, you might want to add a few environmental engineers
Mhm.
as an environmental engineer, because we'll raise the bar for the whole group, and you'll have a lot of fun.
Mhm.
But it is, that's just part of what it is. But yeah, I think you've really encapsulated what I was hoping to share with those listening. This idea is that this is a broad profession. And as a professional, we've got certain responsibility. The broadness of the profession means there's room for everybody to do whatever it is that fits them. If it's agency working for state, federal, municipal, if it's consulting, if it's construction, if it's industry, and I'll throw in a plug for academe while we're at it. Though of course, getting the PhD is going to be essential for that piece. But the at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want to do as long as you're willing to make the commitment and have the vision and the passion to push through those hard times and embrace the good times. And there will be more good times than bad times is virtually guaranteed if you find the right place. So,
Mhm.
and it sounds to me like you have. I couldn't be more pleased to hear what you're saying. I've had students, I've had mentees at ASCE through their collaborative mentoring program that I've actually said, quit, go someplace else. You deserve better. But I'm not saying that to you. It sounds like you're getting what you need, that you're achieving what you want, and that you've got a long career of success and impact that I'm going to continue to applaud on a regular basis and point to you on a regular basis and say I'm happy to say I know him.
Mhm.
To wrap up, I'll give you a minute. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to share? Any lesson learned? Any either personal or something you've observed from one of your colleagues?
Um, No, I think for just all those listening, definitely know that like building connections early on in your career, whether, that's at the university level or as you're entering the workforce, can really be beneficial. I mean, you never know where a connection will lead. And so you definitely don't want to burn any bridges, for a metaphorical sense. But, building those connections early on will definitely help set you up for success, later on in life. And I think if you can find an organization, for me that's ASCE, that can connect you with other people, that other like-minded people that are passionate about engineering, passionate about what they do, want to give back to the community, then it does make it fun and rewarding all at the same time. And they do, feed off one another, and what you're doing in ASCE benefits you at work, and what you do at work, benefits you through an ASCE lens. So definitely get involved, go out, meet
And that
people.
personal life piece too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I have met so many great people in ASCE and so many young engineers too, to where we're friends and we're close now. So it all, like I said, it builds on each other. It's connected. I'm close with that group, and that group's met my other friends outside of an ASE sense. So it it's all connected, it's all rewarding, and I've been having a good time doing it. So
Yeah, super. And again, I'm proud to call you a friend, and will for a long time to come. So again, thank you for sharing yourself openly and candidly with us. Um, it is appreciated personally, and I'm sure those that have listened to the conversation appreciate it as well. So, with that said, until I see you at the next ASCE meeting, uh,
all
you take care of yourself.
right,
Thanks.
thank you, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Infrastructure Network.